every Sunday I'm front center, looking forward to playoffs. And I keep me a double wings, cause you know I gotta have it. Yeah, they say I'm just a fan. What? Well, I say I'm a fanatic. And I fast forward commercial too. I ain't going to the bathroom. You know where I'm at, I ain't hard to find. You can catch me in the lab room.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. Ravens, Jets, final time this season you'll get Thursday Night Football. Hope you enjoyed it. I most certainly did. Your man Louie T reporting live from the desk. Soon as the Bob Griffin show started and the Lamar Jackson show ended, I showed up. And so if you listen to the podcast, you know I can't turn Lamar off. I can't turn 8 off. So the minute Bob Griffin entered the game, I'm out of there. So here I am. So left the game at 42-21. Dominant performance again once by the Ravens. And look, there was no debate prior to this game. Okay, Lamar Jackson was the MVP going into the game. If you didn't know, or you had some reservations, or you thought maybe Russell Wilson was still hanging around, that's been put to bed tonight. The second time in a row we've seen Lamar Jackson on primetime television. The second time in a row he's thrown for not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5. 5 passing touchdowns for Lamar Jackson yet again. He did it again. Not to mention, on the same night, he breaks Michael Vick's single-season rushing mark for any quarterback in this league of 1,039 yards. That's been smashed. Lamar Jackson now owns that record, and as Michael Vick said on his congratulations video to Lamar, there will be plenty more records for Lamar to destroy throughout his career if he's able to stay relatively healthy. This guy right now is just destroying this league, tearing it to shreds. The Jets were little to no competition, and we knew that coming into the game. I actually applaud the Jets for hanging in and keeping it relatively close early before this thing got out of control, late stages of the first half into the second half of this game. But nonetheless, if I'm Jim Harbaugh, I would have pulled Lamar at 35-7. Personally, I had the same feelings tonight as I did when he was still in the game in that Rams massacre. And I'm like, dude, it's blood all over the place. He's already disassembled this Rams football team. Why is he still in the game? And I'm not going to argue because I don't want him to actually come out. But for the sake of making sure that he's around when they actually need him, you take him out of the game. But I wasn't complaining. He stayed in a couple more possessions, threw another touchdown pass. I'm all here for it, man. So I think he came in the game already leading the league in touchdown passes with 28. Added 5 more to the mix tonight. So I think he is at 33, or he might have come into the night with 30 and now he's got 35. Either way, it's ridiculous. And he's just dominating right now. And the MVP, I think there are some trophies that we can already hand out right now. Awards that to me, there's no debating. One of them is Coach of the Year. I think you can go ahead and hand that to Mike Tomlin right now. Whether they make the postseason or not, the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers, on their 19th quarterback of the season, are currently 8-5 and in the postseason with a chance to continue to progress, maybe get a 5 seed before it's all said and done, is ridiculous. So go ahead and hand him the Coach of the Year trophy. And while you're at it, go ahead and hand Lamar Jackson the MVP of the league. This is done. It is over. And Lamar Jackson has been absolutely ridiculous this season. There's not really much for me to say on this game. I think I'm just going to read your comments. I don't really feel like I need to talk a lot about this game. Ingram was good. Lamar Jackson was excellent. The tight ends are tremendous. We've talked about them all season long. Started on the very first play of the game. Hayden Hurst catches a pass, breaks 2 or 3 tackles, picks up a first down, and that just it kind of epitomizes what the Ravens are. Just a tough football team. You're seeing the receivers, Willie Snead and Seth Roberts and Hollywood Brown, and all of the guys that he can throw the football to. There's weaponry all over the place. And then, as I mentioned, the guy that kind of makes all of this go, Lamar Jackson, under center or in the gun, whatever you want to call it. This guy is ridiculous. And so let's just get to the comment section. So Larry G's the best says, stop with the Russell Wilson still in the MVP race. Lamar is a mile ahead of him. I think that pretty much sums it up. If anyone thought that Russ was still hanging in, and I said that I said after the Rams game that Russ had a chance on that next platform, which was Monday Night Football, I believe, versus the Vikings. No, he had a Sunday night game, a Monday night, then a Sunday night. I said he's going to need an epic performance. He didn't do that on Monday Night Football versus the Vikings. Damn sure didn't do that on Sunday night versus the Los Angeles Rams. This is all Lamar Jackson's award at this point. Ed says, Lamar Jackson is the MVP of the league, and I think he secured it tonight. No knock on Russell Wilson. He's been playing phenomenal. No knock on Russell Wilson, but this is a one-man show right now. Ed also says, Ravens have home field advantage in the playoffs. They could go where they started the season, in Miami. They look like all signs are pointing to them being there when it's all said and done. But as we've seen before with dominant teams in the regular season, anybody can be had at any time in the postseason. So don't want to count your chickens before they hatch. But right now, I don't see a team in the AFC stopping this Ravens offense for 4 quarters. I just don't. Protect Sports says, this man Lamar is ridiculous, bro. Homie is on a tear of epic proportions. Indeed. Indeed he is. John Perez says, Lamar Action Jackson just locked up the MVP tonight. I think he had done that about 3 weeks ago on Monday Night Football versus the Rams personally. But sure, if you needed to see it again, you saw it again tonight. The 20th Mike says, LOL, Robert Griffin is getting inspired by Lamar and trying to run like him. If you saw, shaking my head. No, I didn't see it, but we know Bob Griffin isn't Lamar Jackson. We know that. I talked about that on the podcast too. Anyway, Big Blue Rising says, Darnold is a turnover machine. Don't know how Gase is going to fix that. He actually hasn't been that bad tonight. You know, the fumble was unfortunate. You'd like to see him hold on to that, but he's been under a little bit of duress. I thought he's done some good things. The interception before half, you'd like to avoid that, but I'm not going to kill him for that. But yes, Darnold has been a turnover machine. He had that issue at USC, you know, especially the fumbles. So it's not anything new. Reese says, damn, Lou, Sam Darnold is boo-boo. Dude looks like a Lego figure. I'm not, again, you know how I feel about Sam Darnold. I've never been a Sam Darnold guy, but he does have some talent, you know, contrary to popular belief. There is some talent there, but there, much like we talk about with Jameis Winston all the time, man, the talent is undeniable, but you're probably going to have to take some turnovers with that talent. Unlike Jameis Winston, though, who stands in a pocket and is fearless, Sam Darnold sees ghosts. So, anyway, Christian Ritchie says, please answer this, sir. I answer what? Anyway, Ali Side says, Robbie Anderson will be getting a nice paycheck if he keeps playing like this. Do you think he is a number 1 or 2? Yeah, I actually do think Robbie Anderson is fully capable of being someone's number 1. I personally thought he was a number 1 for the Jets. But if you have a guy, I think he would be better served as a number 2. You know, and I do think he's going to get paid this offseason because he's got a rare skill set. And I think, as Troy Aikman talked about on the telecast, he's not just a one-trick pony. He was before where you could just, you know, run him deep and have him beat guys with that elite speed that he possesses. But I think he has really turned himself into a real receiver, a receiver that is able to do a little bit more than just take the top off of a defense. I think he's worked himself into a complete wide receiver, and I think he's going to be compensated for that come this offseason. HTTR for Life says, if the Redskins were to play this Jets team right now in Week 15, who do you think would win? I still say the Jets, but I'd also made it closer than our last matchup. I still think we would lose to the Jets. I don't think we're not that far removed from that football game. Yes, the Redskins are playing better, but I think the Jets would have beat the Redskins yet again. Captain Spartan 04 says, Robbie Anderson leaving in free agency. If I'm the Jets, there's no way I let him go. But, if he's able to command, and sometimes in free agency, I've always said this, players or anything in life, is only worth what you're willing to pay. And same thing for free agency. These players are only worth what someone's willing to pay. If the Jets are willing to pony up, he'll remain in New York. If, someone else is offering him top dollar and the Jets are like, that's too rich for our blood. I mean, you heard the Jets last offseason. You heard their head coach, Adam Gase, complaining about how they overspent on Le'Veon Bell. They overspent on C.J. Mosley. I can't see them overspending on Robbie Anderson. And now, what does an overspend look like? I don't know what that price tag is, but we've heard them complain about overspending in the past. So I'm going to assume that Robbie Anderson is going to be allowed to test free agency. Let's see. Reese says, I'm giving out my trophy to Shaq Barrett for Defensive Player of the Year, leading the NFL with 15.5 sacks and NFL leading 7 forced fumbles, 13 tackles for loss, and a pick. He won't be considered. Fickle. You're right. He probably won't. It's a shame that in order to really garner the attention that some of these players properly deserve, you have to be playing for a winning outfit. Same thing could be said for my guy in Washington, and Matt Ioannidis, leading our team in sacks. He's either got 8.5 or 9.5 at this point. A bevy of tackles for loss. He's a constant disruptor and a guy that has just been all over the football field for the Redskins. Probably not even going to get a sniff for the Pro Bowl, but that's the world we live in. So we'll see what happens, because I remember when we were 4 games into the season and he already had 10 sacks, did Shaq Barrett. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. The 20th Mike says, the only thing that can beat these teams are the rain. They didn't even lose in the rain at home versus the 49ers. So, it's hard to see them losing right now. And the rain kind of fits what they do because they're a downhill running football team. So, anyway, Reese says, I remember you telling me about Jameis long ago that his strongest attribute may be his will. He will not quit. He will fight to the very end every time. Sam Darnold doesn't have that will. I agree. John Perez says, after Adam Gase's comments about Le'Veon Bell bowling, after calling out with the flu, it goes to show how clueless of a head coach he is. He clearly doesn't deserve a second season in New York. He's going to get a second season. I don't think he's getting canned in New York. And they've actually played really well since Sam Darnold has come back from mono. So, it's a shame because there were some winnable games at the beginning of the season. If Sam Darnold doesn't have mono, who's to say that they're not 8-5 right now instead of 5-8, or now they're 5-9, but who's to say they wouldn't be 8-6 right now, and they shouldn't have lost week 1 when Sam Darnold was in the lineup versus the Bills. They should have won that game. They dominated that game and then gave up 14 points in the fourth quarter and lost. Anyway, Big Blue Rising says, which game are you looking forward to this weekend? Cowboys, Rams is one that's high on the list. Titans, Texans, that might be at the top of my list. Trying to think if there are any more. Dolphins, Giants. I'm not looking forward to the game, just the outcome of that game. But I think the two that really stand out for me are Texans, Titans, and Cowboys and Rams. And the Steelers, Bills as well. I don't want to forget that one. That's a game with massive playoff implications as well. So those are the 3 games that I think stand out on this week's docket for me. Gregory Lightbody says, there's a cornerback in the draft named Lamar Jackson. I was not aware of that, but it's a common name, so I'm not surprised. Protect Sports says, Robbie to DC, possibly. Maybe. I think he's a guy that definitely is going to garner some attention. I don't see him coming to DC, though. Christian Ritchie says, sorry, let me finish my question. Thank you. He says, I need some garbage time with Lamar Jackson. I'm in the LTN fantasy. I only got 45 points. Could have broke 60 tonight. LOL. Best draft pick. I kept telling people at these different stores that I work at in fantasy, look, man, if you can get Lamar, get Lamar. I think he's going to be dynamite. I didn't expect him to be this good this season, but what he's done, ridiculous. And I'm pretty sure fantasy owners everywhere are rejoicing at the fact that this guy's been as dominant as he's been this season. Captain Spartan 04 says, I really hope the Jets start hitting on these first-round picks in 2020. If Feels like the entire decade they just wasted, dude. Keep drafting D lineman after D lineman and USC quarterbacks. He's going all the way back to Dirty Ches with that as well. RG3 hashtag says, what would the Jets record be if they didn't have so many injuries? As I just said, I could easily see them being an 8-win team right now had Sam Darnold not been had not contracted mono earlier in the season. There were some very winnable games over that stretch that he missed, and it's unfortunate because they could have won some of those games, and they should have won in week 1. So it is what it is. JP says, where the hell is Quentin Williams? He's currently injured right now. I think he's got an ankle injury, if I'm not mistaken. The 20th Mike says, hopefully Haskins takes notes during the offseason and reads defenses like Lamar and maybe loses some weight. I don't necessarily know if Lamar is just, dissecting defenses, necessarily. I think with the style of play that they have and the way they're setting things up, I think he's doing a great job of identifying where the open receivers are. But I think the way that they're calling their offense is really setting Lamar and that offense up for success. But I'm not taking anything away from him. Anyway, Gregory Lightbody says, how long until we see another Lamar Jackson? They don't grow on trees, I mean, what's been the time frame since we saw Vic at this kind of level? What was it? Probably 2009 maybe was the last time Vic was playing at a level like this. So, probably every decade or so. But with the college football game going to a lot of spread offense and a lot of read option and RPOs, you're going to see more and more athletes playing quarterback. And, now teams are going to be a lot more open to the idea of taking one of these guys from the collegiate game, giving him a shot to be an NFL quarterback. And so you're going to see a lot more athletes playing the quarterback position, but every athlete that plays quarterback isn't actually a quarterback. Sometimes you got running backs playing quarterbacks or track guys playing quarterback. There's a difference that you're a quarterback that's an athlete, not an athlete playing quarterback. So it's a difference. And Lamar Jackson is a quarterback that happens to be an athlete, and there's a difference. And so they don't grow on trees. I think it'll be a while before we see a guy like this. He's a phenomenon, is Lamar Jackson. JP says, Ravens just clinched the AFC North. Nobody is beating the Ravens team in the postseason. We'll see. Ali Side says, Lou, any chance we get a podcast this week? I need that heat. Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up because right after this podcast, I'm out of here. I'm going out of town. So I just wanted to alert you guys that there may not be a Sunday Night Football overtime if I'm not back in town by then. But you will get a podcast tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. But I do not think you'll get, and you may not even get a Monday Night Football overtime. Just depends on when I get back into town and if I'm able to view the game or not. So just keep that in mind. But again, stay tuned to Twitter. I'll make sure I update you guys on that as to whether I'll be able to get on and do the overtime series this week or not. Anyway, Reese says, do you want a defensive-minded head coach for the Skins, Lou? If memory serves, it's been a good bit since you've had one. It's been quite some time, and I don't anticipate the Redskins going in that direction. And personally, I don't necessarily need a defensive-minded head coach as much as I just want a defensive genius as our defensive coordinator. I'm sick of these retreads and guys that are mediocre at best as defensive coordinators in Washington. I want one of these Greg Williams, Todd Bowles, and I know you're a little off-put by Todd Bowles right now as a defensive coordinator, but he's actually really good at what he does. I want one of those types of guys to be the next defensive coordinator in Washington. Don't know if we're going to be able to attract one of those guys, but I don't want a defensive-minded head coach. I don't. Junior 13 says, Greg Williams or Greg Roman offered a head coaching job. I think you're going to see Greg Roman potentially offered a head coaching job. I don't know about Greg Williams or not, but I think Greg Roman may be finally getting an opportunity to get a head coaching gig after what he's done with this Ravens offense and Lamar Jackson in particular. Let's see. Reese says, what are your thoughts on Haskins' rookie performance? so far. He's been solid. Not earth shattering, but he's shown flashes of why he was a first round pick. But I think he's still got a long ways to go. So he's been solid this year. If you're out there and you want your comment read, make sure you use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air. Larry G's the best says Lamar has that MVP locked up. Hashtag big trust. Assist _ says, what do you think of Haskins' future? And I like your haircut. Thank you. Haskins' future. I think it could be bright, very bright. But he's going to have to continue to mature, going to continue to grow. And I think he may even take a step back next year because whatever happens, he's going to have a new head coach, probably new terminology, probably new playbook, and going to have to learn everything all over again. I think the benefit of playing this year helps him with the speed of the game and the things that he's got to adjust to, like setting protections and being able to see the field pre-snap and kind of determine where he should be going with the football based off of pre-snap looks and reads. So I think this is some invaluable experience that he's getting, but in terms of a brand new playbook and terminology and that sort of thing, I think there will be a lot of that next year that he'll have to adjust to. And so it may slow down the process of him growing as fast as we might like. But that being said, I think the future is very bright for him if he continues to progress and mature. Reese says, have a safe trip. Merry Christmas. Appreciate it, man. Likewise. And I'll see you guys before Christmas. It's not like I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks or something like that. Captain Spartan 04 says, it's scary knowing the Ravens still haven't used Marquise Brown and Justice Hill that much. Who knows how they're going to be used, especially Justice Hill. It's still, I feel like they've done a great job. And throw Miles Boykin in there. He had the first touchdown grab of the night. And I think there's so much more room for growth with this Ravens offense. It's not even funny. Larry G's the best says, Lamar needs one more legit wide receiver like Hollywood. This dude's going to ball out. Blackbird Blitz says, we need you on the radio in the 757. Deal with that fact. I actually thought about trying to get a radio gig around here locally, but it would just take away from what I'm trying to do. I don't, maybe I could do that and do what I do at the same time, but I don't know. I thought about it at one point, though. That was something that I did consider, and I was thinking about trying to, get into an internship at one of the local sports stations in the area, but I decided against it. Anyway, hey, HTTR for Life says, do you see the Redskins winning or having a chance against the Eagles, Giants, or Cowboys? I talked about that on the Redskins Nightly News, so check that out. But they can beat all three of those teams. There's no doubt in my mind, but do I see them winning those games? No, I don't. The 20th Mike says, only team I can see beating the Ravens is the Steelers, and they could meet up twice. And I've talked about that already. They will meet twice because they're in the same division, so they played them week 17. But the Ravens probably won't need that game. And I talked about that on the podcast, so I won't continue to elaborate on that. But anyhow, JP says, if we're going to get a great season out of Dwayne Haskins next year, we definitely need an offensive-minded guy like Eric Bieniemy. He might be the new quarterback whisperer. We will see. JP says, you definitely need to have a job on ESPN, NFL Network. They would love you over there. I don't know if they would. I don't know if they would or not. Assist _ says, hope you have a safe trip. Love your podcast. Thank you. Appreciate that. I really do. I'm going to Cincinnati, actually. Let's see. Wells Dottie says, being a DC fan is so brutal, but I love my squads. Hashtag cut the jokes. Hey, if you're a Washington fan, then the Nats won the World Series, so there's always that. And the Mystics won the WNBA, so there's always that. Anyway, appreciate that hype, dude. And JP says, can't win any more games if the Skins want to have a shot to draft Chase Young. They can't. I don't think there's any more room for error there. Terrence J says, hats off to the Jets. Not much talent, but they played hard tonight. I agree. And I can say this much. Greg Williams has gotten probably the most he can out of that Jets rag defensively. He squeezed the hell out of that rag. It's damn near dry. And for them to be ranked 7th right now in total defense, quite the accomplishment with all the injuries that they dealt with this season and all the different moving parts that they've had. Remember the money they spent on Tremaine Johnson? He's been benched, and he's not even a factor in New York right now. Like, the fact that they've done what they've done this season with all the moving parts, really, really impressive by Greg Williams and this Jets football team. 20th Mike says, Brown also balling at his size is just amazing. Shows that there's anyone going to leave if you have. I don't understand that comment. Captain Spartan 04 says, if you get a video that you can throw on target, you can destroy the Rams defense. What are you guys talking about? If you get a video that can throw on target, okay. Anyway, yes, I like Hayden Hurst, John Perez. I liked him coming out of South Carolina. Thought he was I didn't think he was a first-round talent, which the Ravens did take him in the first round, but I thought he was a talented tight end. I thought he was more of a second-round tight end, but he's a good tight end nonetheless. Assist _ says, do you believe in Haskins, McLaurin, and Geis? I do, but Geis just has to stay healthy. HTTR for Life says, can't believe some Redskins fans are switching to the Baltimore bandwagon. Got to stay true to my skins throughout all their controversy. Hey, look, man, it is what it is. I don't get mad about stuff like that, but generally, you got to be a one-team fan. Like, you're not allowed to like other teams. So, but people are going to do what they want to do. I don't get bent out of shape about that kind of stuff. Gregory Lightbody says, at this point, I would take anyone over Manusky. He is the 2019 Joe Barry. I concur with that statement. QB, not video. Sorry, heard video and typed video. Got you. Okay. I was like, what are you talking about? Cloud says Mark Andrews might be better, honestly. I think he is. And I liked Mark Andrews coming out of Oklahoma probably better than I did Hayden Hurst. I think I had a slightly higher grade. Now, I think that the difference between the two is that Hayden Hurst will block. Mark Andrews isn't much of a blocker, at least not coming out of Oklahoma. He wasn't terrible, but that wasn't his thing. Hayden Hurst was a little bit more willing to put his face in a defender's chest and block. So I think that was the biggest difference. But Mark Andrews, for me, in terms of hands and I won't say athleticism. I think Hayden Hurst is a better athlete than that of Mark Andrews, but just as a pass catching threat, I think Mark Andrews is far superior to that of Hayden Hurst. Anyway, that's going to do it. I'm about to get out of here, finish packing up my things and hitting the road. So I thank you guys for joining me tonight. Ravens dominate this football game. Not really much analysis for this game. The Ravens dominated this game 6 ways to Sunday. Again, the Jets hung tough early in the game, had some opportunities with some great field position. You know, they had some really good field position that they squandered, some really good kick returns, some missed tackles by the Ravens. If there's one chink in the armor, I think, with this Ravens football team, and I've said this before, is I think you might be able to run on them a little bit. You know, the Jets had a little bit of success tonight rushing the football, and the 49ers, and I almost want to throw the 49ers out of there because they run on everybody. It's almost like they don't count. Like they're a different animal when it comes to the run game. So you expect them to be able to have a little bit of success. But if there's one thing that I think they need to clean up and shore up a bit is their run game, the defense. I think you can actually run on the Baltimore Ravens a little bit. And Le'Veon Bell, I thought, had a little bit of success tonight rushing the football. So that may be the one thing that I think they have to shore up. But outside of that, they seem to be really clicking. And at times, the secondary can be a little aloof. But, I mean, Jamison Crowder was wide open for a touchdown. That can't happen. He dropped it, but, you know, they've got some things that they can clean up. They're not a flawless football team, are the Ravens. But they're damn good. That's for sure. And Lamar Jackson is the guy driving this car. So that's going to do it for the final Thursday night football game of the season. Ravens take down the Jets. I don't know if they scored again, if either of the teams scored again. I left the game at 42-21 to come here and start this live stream. But in any event, Ravens improved to 12-2 on the season, lock up the AFC North division with this win, and pretty much lock up the number one seed. They need one more win. I talked about it on my podcast, but they're going to get one more win. They're going to win. They're going to get the number one seed. And now it's 10 straight wins for the Ravens. They're scary in the AFC, and I don't know if anyone's capable of beating them outside of the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Remember, if you can, like this video, subscribe to the Louie T Network if at all possible, and also share this video. Check out the Louie T Network podcast, new episode coming your way tomorrow, and enjoy your weekend. You know I will. We'll come back, reconvene, hopefully Sunday. If not Sunday, hopefully Monday. If not Monday, you'll definitely see me on Tuesday at some point. I'm your man Louie T, signing off. Until next time, you guys behave yourselves. Have a good one. Take care.
Louie T Network.